In today's episode, I want to suggest that past events, and maybe particularly difficult or challenging past events, can help us to see God more fully in the present and trust God more fully as we move into the future. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. It is a kind of a truism in the Christian faith that God is difficult or to see or to hear. Just two verses that reinforce that are, one is from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, in which we're told that now in this lifetime we see through or see in a glass darkly. The glass suggests a mirror that's not perfect, so we see into it, but it's not clear or in focus, let's say. And then in 1 Kings 19, a famous story about the prophet Elijah, we're told that Elijah's standing at the mouth of a cave, and he hears all of this loud noise, these loud noises, fire and wind and rain. And God isn't in any of those, but it turns out that God is in the sound of sheer silence, or a gentle whisper, or a still small voice. So in the one instance, it's a question of our eyes aren't calibrated to see God. In the other, it's a question of the world is noisy and loud, and we can't hear the still small voice of God. In a recent episode, I quoted another passage from the Bible. This is from Paul's letter to the Ephesians, where Paul writes this, among other things. He says, "I pray that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, may give you a spirit of wisdom and revelation as you come to know him, so that with the eyes of your heart enlightened, you may know," and then he goes on to say, what's the hope to which he's called you, what are the riches of his glorious inheritance, and what is the immeasurable greatness of his power, right? But again, the metaphor is with the eyes of your heart enlightened. And I want to suggest that one way to calibrate that strange metaphor of the eyes of our heart to better see and know and understand what God is up to is by looking into our past. And I was reminded of this, actually just the day before I was taping this, I got a call from a good friend who a number of years ago had what I think I can fairly describe as a tragic, devastating event in his life. Potentially, it really could have wrecked him in all kinds of ways. And now, a number of years later, he is finding that he made it through that difficult, challenging event and feels stronger and healthier and more able to face the challenges of the future. And he was calling me specifically because this was sort of an anniversary date related to that tragedy. And he wanted to pause on that anniversary and say, "Tim, I just want to say God has been present with me. God was present through that event, and God has continued to be present through me, through people I know and who care for me, through the church, and even through little old me." And he was calling to mark that moment and to say, "Thank you." I think that is an incredibly healthy and meaningful way to perceive how God has been present in your life by looking at past events and reflecting on, okay, where was I then? And how has God brought me through that? And sort of analyzing it, reflecting it with the benefit of hindsight, and then acknowledging how God, through other people, through organizations, through the church, through whatever, how God has helped to get you through that moment. That helps, it seems to me, to calibrate our eyesight. It helps to calibrate our hearing so that it is easier to see where God is leading us in the future. And I want to suggest today that maybe you try that little experiment. Think of an event in the past. Maybe you haven't thought of it in a while. Reflect on it. Reflect on how maybe God has been present with you from that moment until now, so that the eyes of your heart might be enlightened. Thanks as always for being with me. Be well, stay in touch, and God bless.